I'm so sorry that this episode is up a little late. Normally, I know we get to wake up to them, but alas, after recording this episode, I had an aha moment about what we're going to talk about today. So, we're getting a fresh conversation, and I'm really excited about what I'm bringing to you with this version of the conversation. So I asked on Instagram, at reself.app, link in the show notes, what it was that everyone wanted to talk about, and it was a 50-50 tie between having a conversation about self-morality and discussing how our ego or ideas of self limit and impact our experience. So I chose to go with self-morality this week, and perhaps if nothing inspires me more, we'll talk about ego and ideas of self next week. But today, we're going to talk about the empowering nature of self-defined morality, or better yet, what happens when authenticity meets integrity, and how authentic integrity might just be a better alternative to morality. So, this is something that's been on my mind recently that I've been reflecting on. And so here are kind of my working thoughts. And I'm going to kind of set you up to my working thoughts with a little bit of background on morality and what has kind of shaped my thoughts on this subject. So, what is self-defined morality? And why are we calling it authentic integrity instead? Well, first of all, morality is defined as a principle concerning the distinction between right and wrong or good and bad behavior. Right off the bat there, I believe that there's a problem with this idea of good and bad behavior. There are certain ways we can see how morality, either from religion or just cultural morality, impacts our personal experiences. And I think that, and I'm speaking from, an upbringing in the United States. I'm also speaking from being raised in the Roman Catholic Church. There are ways in which both of those moralities have hurt me as a person and have gone against what is my own self-morality or what is my authentic integrity, what feels authentically right for me. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Because I think when we define good and bad behavior, one, it negates the grayness of the human expression itself. We are so much more than good or bad. And it creates shame and guilt. And those are terrible feelings that can have detrimental effects to our expression, and we don't want to have detrimental effects to our authentic expression, because that is part of our experience as being human. That's part of what we're doing here, is to share our gift of our unique authentic expression with the world, with all that we come across on our journey here in this life. So, now, morality, philosophically speaking, so in terms of a philosophical background here, it really, philosophy honors, I think, very well, just as a broad discipline, not necessarily individual philosophies, but as a broad discipline, it honors that morality is not black and white. I mean, if you literally just Googled different moral philosophies, you will find a plethora of them. And I think that's indicative of the fact that it's not a black and white subject, It's not as black and white as our societal paradigms make it out to be. And it's not as black and white as we feel it to be in our experience of shame and guilt and I did a bad thing or I did the wrong thing or, I whatever. Because when we create space for grayness, when we create space for, yes, I might be a quote unquote sinner and we are all quote unquote sinners, but that doesn't mean we can't be saints at the same time. There is no difference between a sinner and a saint, except I gotta stop myself there because there's a thought there and it's not fully developed and I want to keep moving. What is the difference between a sinner and a saint truly? Not in religious context. Food for thought. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. DM them to us on Instagram. What is the difference between... Is there a difference between sinner and saints? How can a sinner be a saint? How can a saint be a sinner? How are they the same thing? How can they be the same thing? Let me know. But for real, I want to know your thoughts. This is a discussion. Anyway, there are many philosophical takes on morality, like I said. To name a few, we've got moral relativism, virtue ethics, utilitarianism, which is right and wrong is determined by the overall goodness or utility of the consequences of action. And this is, I think, a little closer, just giving you my 2 cents on the subject. This is a little closer to where I lean, and we'll get there in a bit. And then you have, again, to name just a few, you have Kantian morality, which for anyone who's familiar or curious, includes the categorical imperative, which is essentially that we should act in a way so that I can will my maxim or my guiding rule to be universally adopted or universally applied, which I kind of also get behind. But again, we'll get there because I am most keen on Nietzsche's take on the role of self in this picture, namely from his work Thus Spoke Zarathustra and the 3 metamorphoses of our spirit into free spirits. You can already guess why I like this, because we're talking about being free. And I think free and authentic go hand in hand. So in the metamorphoses, we first all start out within the paradigm of society's morals, what we must do, and I'm paraphrasing this idea for everyone. What we must do, following the rules, believing that, this is it, this paradigm, how the world is, this is it. And then we morph into the camel, which is a disciplined preserver. The camel upholds the paradigm, bears the burdens of others, takes pride in this, but at some point the camel realizes it is a slave to the paradigm, to the will and values of others, as opposed to its own will and values. Not all is worth preserving or bearing. And just, a thought is, and Nietzsche says that most people never even become a camel. In the direction of freedom, the camel then morphs into the lion. The lion is confronting the paradigm, destroying it within itself, opposing it. To every you shout of the paradigm, the lion says no. The lion battles the paradigm for its freedom. It destroys what it once respected as the camel and what it once upheld as a part of its own self. And this is really, why I like this metaphor so much, is because it really, even just in that dichotomy, you have such an evolution. And I think that really summarizes the evolution we have here as humans that we are capable of then having as we move further in this one life. And I think it really gets me excited because there is so much that we are capable of. And there is so much that we can evolve to, and we are never doomed to be stuck the same person or be stuck in the same ways or whatever. Life is constantly changing, evolving, growing, expanding, and we can constantly change, evolve, grow, and expand at our own desire. But just like that, it also takes something within the camel to click and realize that it is a slave to the paradigm, that what it's been buying into and upholding and being a part of is keeping it down, is keeping it from growing, is contracting its whole life experience. And the camel and the lion are both still interrelated with that paradigm. Either upholding it or opposing it, but still not transcending it or being outside of it. But by saying no, the lion creates the space to say yes, to create, to expand, to enjoy. And so finally, the lion morphs into the child. The child creates. It makes something better out of everything from the past, out of the world it inherited. It understands that all of that is what gave birth for this very moment to even be possible, for this very moment for you and I to even be exchanging these ideas right now, for us to be connecting, for you to be where you are, for me to be where I am. All of that had to happen. So in that sense, it makes sense of and forgives and accepts, but it does not stop growing. It creates. It doesn't say no, it says yes. It makes something new. And it says yes to what is authentic to the child. And it plays in that and enjoys that. And I love that Nietzsche chose a child for this final stage of the metamorphosis. I think that speaks so deeply to the importance of this idea of tapping into our inner child and really embracing our inner child and understanding that we are children walking around as adults with, more and more responsibility, but we're still those children. And in that inner child, I think lies authenticity and lies the wounds we need to heal and forgive to understand that we are where we're meant to be and that from here we can go forth and expand and create and say yes. And all of this metamorphosis is for, Nietzsche says, the next iteration of human evolution, a human of higher consciousness, so to speak, what Nietzsche calls the Uberman. Though he says we will not be a part of that evolved human, in the sense that we will not be that evolved human, we are a part of it because we are planting the seeds for that evolution to occur through our actions now. And that is really powerful. I mean, just stop and let's suspend all ideas of the world as it currently is, determining what it can be, and let's just imagine if everyone was able to respect each other. Let's imagine that everyone could live in harmony with each other, respecting each other's differences, celebrating each other's differences, imagining what that would look like, how we would interact, what we would gain from respecting each other's differences and also understanding our inherent connection as part of the human family, and how much quicker we would evolve as the human race if that were to happen, if we would stop fighting amongst ourselves and we could get to that place now as Nietzsche would say, understand that you, me, we are those seeds for that evolution. It starts with us. It doesn't start with anyone else, but it starts with us. And that's what I find so empowering about this idea and about life in general. We are the change. It starts with us. It starts with no one else. And no one is too small. I shared something on our Instagram the other day from a study done on civil disobedience. It takes 3.5% of the population to create meaningful change. I will link the study in the show notes. That's nuts! Is 3.5%? Hello? So I think one of the biggest challenges for us is to conceptualize that every little action counts. And that's why it really does break down to the individual level, to you and me, and to what we do in our daily lives, and how we honor our own purpose and expression and authenticity, which brings us to our authentic integrity and why that's so important. The metamorphosis is not only about self-overcoming, but it's about overcoming the current paradigm for the creation of a better paradigm, a better world. And that, like I just said, has everything to do with us, with our daily actions, with our purpose. To become a free spirit, we not only have to overcome the paradigm we were born into, as understanding that we are the seeds for the better paradigm to come, but in doing so, we overcome ourselves as well. We overcome our own self-imposed limits, our own contracting beliefs and ideas that do not serve us. So, in this idea of a self-defined morality, authentic integrity, we decide for ourselves based on a genuine knowledge and connection to our authentic self what this looks like. Through this, we know what aligns with that authenticity and what doesn't. And that's why I think it's best referred to as authentic integrity, because, and I choose the definition of integrity that relates to being whole and undivided, because I think the authentic integrity, results in being whole and undivided through our actions, upholding our authentic wholeness through our thoughts, our words, our actions, and habits, which all compound to create our destiny. There's a little Lao Tzu reference for you in there. So, what does authentic integrity look like? I truly think that it is a journey similar to the journey of the metamorphoses that Nietzsche discusses. It's that stepping back and realizing the paradigm and the cultures and the religions, etc., in which we were brought up and which we were born into, and deciding, what bits of this do I want to uphold? What bits of this align with my authentic integrity, with my authentic wholeness? What bits are detrimental to that? Take it and leave it, Take what fits, leave what doesn't. And by leaving, we create space for the new. I also think, again, similar to Nietzsche, it has a bigger direction outside ourselves, and that was kind of what I was hinting at with this idea between utilitarianism and Kant's categorical imperative towards creating a better paradigm, a more evolved humanity through our individual actions, because that's the only way that's going to happen. And I would go head to head with Elon Musk and the community that wants to merge humanity with AI on this subject, because it is up to us and we are capable of it. Evolved humanity, to me, does not include AI. And as a philosopher and ethically speaking, I think we need to be we need to figure out that problem before we even open up that can of worms, because once we open it, we can't get it back. And there may be nothing wrong with some of it, but there certainly poses a threat. And I think as humans, we have a lot to work out with ourselves before we introduce another thing into us that isn't going to solve us. It's like the idea of having a kid to fix a marriage that isn't working. It's not going to fix it. Putting AI in our brains, merging humanity with AI is not going to fix the problems of humanity. And I think that we can fix them on our own. I really, truly do believe that. And I'm sure that Nietzsche would probably go ahead and say the same thing on the subject of merging AI and humanity. Because I mean, this is a tangent, my apologies. But, look at how we already struggle with just having phones that are basically an extra appendage to our bodies. We haven't even resolved that issue yet. So, my philosophers, please, hello, let us band together and let us. Yeah, tangent done. So in a sense, kind of similar to, again, like I said, utilitarianism and Kant's categorical imperative there, but it's this kind of this self-morality, authentic integrity is one that is more genuine and authentic to self, rather than just doing what is best for everyone because it's best for everyone, even if it feels inauthentic to you. So, authentic integrity, perhaps, is defining what is good by what is authentic and true for us as an individual. What sets our soul on fire? What are we passionate about? Doing the things that feed our wholeness, our discovery, and our evolution more and more each day. Which is at the same time in the direction of creating a better paradigm, a more evolved humanity, by being authentic to ourselves and honoring our own expression and gifts as being essential for that betterment. It is also authentic expression that's unencumbered by a moral hierarchy, even if that morality is our own. Meaning being non-judgmental and non-comparative about my own example, what my social activism looks like compared to someone who's dedicated their life to social activism. I am someone that deeply cares about social justice, and at the same time, I can't hold myself to the standards of someone who's dedicated their life to social activism because that's just not realistic to me. I can do what I can in my own way. And I can, feed the movements in my Lydia-ness instead of trying to do something in someone else's essence. That's really, if we're going to put a bumper sticker on this one, to each their own. Period. End of sentence. So long as we are not deceiving ourselves, jeopardizing our health and well-being, deceiving others, jeopardizing the health and well-being of others, to each their own. Namaste. Leave it at that. And there may be room for improvement because, by the way, there's always room for improvement. And if you're like me and you believe that part of being on this journey as a human is to learn and evolve and grow, it's not because we're not good enough as we are. Because part of the journey to authenticity is meeting ourselves who we are today and befriending that self, not putting off friendship with ourselves for when I am better, because then that will never come. It's always a future thing. I say improvement because we are made of pure potentiality. The same potentiality that created the universe, we are an expression of that potentiality. In an Alan Watts analogy, we are the fringe of the ink blot of a glass of ink thrown at the wall that is the creation of the universe. And in that potentiality lies the seeds to birth the betterment of humanity, or the betterment of being, capital B being, as Jordan Peterson calls it. And by improvement, I mean more alignment between action and authenticity, between thoughts, words, and actions to create harmony. That integrity to our authenticity, and what is it that nourishes our soul, that feeds our soul, that gives our life purpose, and the truth that is in our hearts. And that room for improvement is not more morality. It's more multitude of self, of expression, unlimited and undulled, because we are not this or that. We are multitudes. Walt Whitman. Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. We are contradictory beings. We can be the camel, and we can be the lion, and we can be the child, all in one lifetime. And that is the beauty of it all. Man, it really is. We're not stuck. We can be anything. We can be. We can contradict. We contain multitudes. We discover and define our authentic integrity through inquisition, as in going within and questioning internally. In questioning, inquisition. What is good for me? What do I love? What does that look like? What does it feel like? How does it express? Who am I at my essence? What does my inner child yearn for? What do I define as the purpose of life? What is right for me, to me? What does that look like and feel like and express as? And then, once we kind of work on that journey of discovering and defining our authentic integrity, uninfluenced, again, as uninfluenced as possible, because obviously, in Nietzsche's Metamorphosis, we are spirits, we are born into the paradigm, so there is, relation there. But in the transcending, in that child-like state, it flows. It's not saying no to society. It's not saying yes to things that we don't want to uphold anymore. It's simply just what works for me, and acting from belief, not shoulds, because that belief is within you, but because it's our truth. And like I was just excitedly saying, this changes and evolves, but it can always be authentic for us in each moment. It's not a I should do this. When we act from belief, it's a part of our expression, not necessarily our direct expression or conscious intention to be good or do good, to be the social activist that we think we should be. We just are, because we are acting from authenticity and our truth, from our own integrity. Authentic integrity holds space for and honors our multiplicity and our authentic expression in the gray areas of our humanness, our capacity for everything in between and outside of. And best of all, authentic integrity holds space for and honors our inherent differences as not being divisive, but as being essential for the multiplicity of existence and humanity, and integral for that betterment of being. Because we each have a gift. We each are a gift in our uniqueness and in our difference. And at the same time, being interconnected and one. The tragedy is that on some level, conscious or subconscious, we are in so many ways told to shrink ourselves, to dull ourselves, to conform, to play it safe, to behave a certain way, to believe certain things we do are right and wrong. That creates that shame, that creates that guilt, that creates that smallness, that creates the inauthenticity and the inner battle and the inner turmoil of not being authentic, not expressing our authenticity, and not experiencing authentic integrity. Oh, this was such a good conversation. I'm so glad we had it a second time. This is it. Thank you for being patient, and thank you for giving me your time, and thank you for giving you this time to get some juices flowing, stir the seas of your inner world and your inner thoughts, and just align with authentic integrity. I wish that for everybody listening and everybody in the world. I'm smiling. This was a great conversation. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having it with me. Like I said, please DM us your thoughts on our Instagram at reself.app. If you're interested in stuff like this and you're new here, you want to sign up for the Reself waitlist for help on integrating stuff like this into your daily life, the link is in the show notes. As usual, follow us on your preferred socials, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr. We're also on TikTok. Might just get rid of that and consolidate all into Instagram Reels. Stay tuned. Otherwise, have a beautiful week, everybody. Bye.